Good day class. So, naway ang lahat ay nasa mabuting kalagayan. So, ang topic natin ngayon ay 8 stages of Erickson's psychosocial development. So, bago tayo mag-start, magkaroon muna tayo ng attendance. Stay active kung nandyan ha.
Yes, sir.
Kaiyas,
Active po.
Espanyo,
Active, sir.
Gingo,
Active po, sir.
Maglinaw,
Active, sir.
Mariano,
Active, sir.
Lar,
Active po, sir.
Bertulpo.
Active po, sir.
Mabuti naman at present ang lahat. So, magpatuloy na tayo sa ating topic for today. So, may inihanda akong presentation para sa araw na to. Visible na ba yung presentation ko?
Opo, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes
So,
po. Yes po.
Apo, sir.
Okay. So, ang topic natin for today is Erickson's psychosocial development. So, stage 1, infancy, trust versus mistrust. Dito dumedepende ang mga infants sa kanilang tagapag-alaga. Kadalasan, ito ay yung mga magulang ng baby. Bale, nabubuo ang tiwala ng baby sa isang tao kapag naibibigay nito ang kanyang pangangailangan. So, trust. When caregivers respond promptly to an infant's cries, the baby can learn to rely on others. As caregivers feel an infant's needs, the baby can develop a sense of trust and security. Sabi dito, sa trust daw ay nabubuo ang tiwala ng bata kapag ito'y umiiyak at naibibigay ng isang tao ang pangangailangan niya, tulad ng gatas, tubig, at emotional needs at marami pang iba. So dito daw, nade-develop din ang sense of trust and security. So sa mistrust naman, if caregivers neglect an infant's needs or if care is sporadic, an infant may grow insecure. They may learn they cannot rely on others and thus feel unsafe. So sabi dito, nawawala naman ang tiwala ng isang baby kapag hindi na ibigay ng tagapag-alaga nito ang pangangailangan ng bata. So may possibility din na lumaki itong insecure at maramdaman na hindi siya safe sa mga taong nasa paligid niya. So stage 2 tayo. Toddlerhood, autonomy versus shame and self-doubt. So dito nabubuo yung virtue na will. So during this phase, young children begin exploring the world around them. They learn more about their environment and their place within it. They also develop basic skills such as toilet training. So, sabi diyan, dito daw nagsisimula na mag-explore ang bata sa mundong kinagagalawan niya. Natututo na siya sa environment na kinagagalawan niya at nagsisimula na ring ma-develop dito yung kaalaman niya sa paggamit ng CR. So, sa autonomy, in this stage, caregivers often serve as a safe base from which to explore the world. When caregivers encourage independence, children will feel secure enough to take risks. So sabi dito, sa autonomy, nagiging kaagapay ng bata ang kanyang tagapag-alaga para matutunan niya ang mga simpleng bagay katulad ng pag-CR. So sa shame naman, children whose caregivers discourage, they may develop feelings of shame. If caregivers foster excessive dependence, the child may learn to doubt their own abilities. So sabi dito sa shame, ang mga tagapag-alagang pinapagalitan ang bata kapag nakagawa ito ng pagkakamali, ay may posibilidad ito na mawala ng tiwala sa kanyang sarili. At nagiging dahilan din ito at pwedeng pwede niyang dalhin hanggang sa kanyang paglaki. So stage 3 tayo. Preschool years, initiative versus guilt. So dito, nagsisimulang magkaroon na ng goals or nais magawa ang bata. Dito niya na rin nasasabi na ang bata ay focus na sa kanilang sarili para sa kanilang goals sa buhay. So sa initiative, when caregivers nurture these tendencies, children learn how to make decisions and plan for the future. They can grow into adults who are able to follow their ambitions. So sabi dito sa initiative, nagagawa na ng bata yung gusto niyang gawin independently. Natututo silang gumawa ng desisyon o plano nila sa buhay na sila lang. So sa guilt naman tayo. If children are criticized for being assertive, they may feel guilt or for pursuing their desires. Controlling caregivers may teach children to follow another's lead rather than starting their own plans. So sabi dito sa guilt, unlike initiative, ang stage naman na ito ay isa sa dahilan kung bakit nagiging guilty ang isang bata, lalo na kapag nagiging assertive at pinupuna sila ng ibang tao. So, ang mangyayari, tatahakin ng bata ang plano o desisyon na nagawa ng ibang tao. Wala silang will kumbaga. So, stage 4 na tayo. Early school years, industry versus inferiority. Dito naman nabubuo yung competence. So, dito sa stage na to papasok ang mga bata into greater society beyond sa family sa unang pagkakataon. So, mostly dito, nakakatanggap na sila ng feedback at dito rin papasok yung comparison nila sa kanilang peer kung sino ang magaling or hindi. So, sa industry, children who are accomplished compared to their peers can develop self-confidence and pride. Praise for their achievements can boost their self-esteem. So sabi dito sa industry, nade-develop yung self-confidence ng bata. So nagiging hardworking sila at nagiging productive sila once na makatanggap sila ng positive feedback. So sa inferiority, children who do not achieve certain milestones may doubt their abilities or self-worth. When children are constantly criticized, they may develop feelings of inferiority. So sa inferiority naman, ito yung kabaliktaran ng industry. Dahil dito, pag di sila nag-succeed sa stage na to, pwede itong makadevelop ng low esteem. Makikita nila ang sarili nila na unproductive at walang pakinabang na miyembro ng society. Lalo na kapag nakikita nila na yung kasamahan or kaibigan nila ay nakapasa sa stage na to, mas lalo nilang napi-feel na mahina talaga sila sa pagiging sa stage na to, or sila yung inferior. So ito na muna yung topic natin for today dahil kulang yung oras natin. So mamaya after ng class magkakaroon tayo ng quiz. So paki-check na lang yung canvas natin para malaman natin kung doon na yung quiz natin. So, bago tayo mag-end, mag-attendance muna ulit tayo. Mag-group selfie tayo. Pa-open po ng cam. Please. Maglinaw pa, screenshot na lang at tas pa-send sa akin.
Okay po, sir.
Pakisabi kung okay na.
Okay na, sir.
Okay, salamat. So ito yun muna tayo. Bali next week magkakaroon tayo ng grouping sa bali ang assign nating leader is si Mary. Tapos ang pag-uusapan sa ating groupings is all about stage 5 to stage 8 ng Erickson's psychosocial development. So ayun lang for today. Salamat. And
Thank you, sir. Bye po.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you, sir.
The next day.
Magandang tanghali sa lahat. Class, bale, pag-uusapan natin ngayon is about stage 5 and to stage 8 ng Erickson's psychosocial development. So bago yung lahat, magkaroon muna tayo ng attendance ulit. So say active again if nandyan Kaiyas.
Active po, sir.
Okay, Espanyo.
Active, sir.
Gingo.
Active po.
Maglinaw.
Active, sir.
Mariano.
Active.
Lar.
Active po.
Bertulpo.
Active, sir.
Okay. So, start na tayo, no? So, bago tayo mag-start, so ano pa lang natutunan natin kahapon sa discussion natin? So, Lar?
Ano po, sir? The lesson yesterday is all about Erickson 8 stages of development.
So, tama yun. So magbigay tayo ng example, at least 2 example. So, kahit isa lang, so, Espanyo, may bibigay ka bang example about dun sa pinag-topic natin
Sir,
kahapon?
about po dun sa Apo. Una po yung sir, yung trust versus mistrust. Nade-develop po yung trust ng isang infant kapag naibibigay po yung needs niya, saka yung emotional needs na magbibigay sa kanya para mag-survive po sa stage na yon. Tapos, kapag hindi naman po nabibigay yung mga pangangailangan niya po, doon po nade-develop yung pagka-mistrust po ng bata. Yun lang po, sir.
Okay, salamat. Tama yung sinabi ni Mary tungkol dun sa trust and mistrust. Dito nabubuo yung pagiging feel safe ng bata kapag naibibigay ng caregiver o yung tagapag-alaga niya yung pangangailangan niya. Nawawala din yung tiwala niya sa kapaligiran niya kapag hindi na ibibigay ng nasa paligid niya yung pangangailangan niya. So anyone, kung sino pa makapagbibigay?
Sir, ako po.
Okay, Gingo.
Yung natutunan ko naman po kahapon, yung sa po, stage 4 early school year. Dito daw po yung bata na nagkakaroon ng Narinig ako?
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
sir. Yes, yes.
As children grow in independence, they become aware of themselves as individuals. They begin to compare themselves with others. Dito daw yung kinukumpara nila yung sarili nila na parang nakikita nila yung sarili nila na parang walang pakinabang sa society. Yun lamang po.
Okay, salamat. Mukhang naunawaan naman natin yung pinag-topic natin kahapon. Pero bakit ganun ang baba ng score natin sa quiz? So, magsimula na tayo sa natin presentation natin for today. So, may ginawa ulit akong presentation for today. So, ipe-present ko lang siya. Maglinaw, please pa-present naman yung ating presentation for today.
Okay po, sir.
Nasira kasi yung laptop ko. Okay po, start na po tayo.
Thank you for watching this video. My name is Brian Collin, and today's topic is Erik Erikson's theory of psychosocial development. Remember that the best way to study is to take practice tests. If you can't find practice tests, create your own using the Learn My Test study tool and learn while you do it. Or search our growing list of test banks for one in your field of study. Sign up for free at www.learnmytest.com. Erik Erikson adopted the belief from Sigmund Freud that development is characterized by a series of stage-related conflicts between two perspectives. He believed that you must hold both perspectives in order to achieve identity strengths, which he defined as virtues. The first stage-related conflict in Erikson's theory is trust versus mistrust, and often occurs between 0 and 18 months. During this stage, an infant must depend on their parents or primary caretakers for basic things such as food, water, shelter, and emotional needs to survive. Children who can depend on their parents for these needs can trust or count on them, while those who can't may have difficulty trusting others now and later in development. Erikson believed that children who learn to trust their caretakers develop the virtue hope, where they view the world as a good place where people can be trusted. The second stage conflict of Erikson's theory is autonomy versus shame and doubt, and occurs from ages 2 to 4. During this stage, children learn to do activities on their own without the help of their parents. For example, children learn to go to the bathroom on their own or learn to dress themselves. Parents who get upset with their children doing these activities on their own may have children who struggle to be self-sufficient later on in their development. However, parents who let their children solve problems on their own when they are ready for them will have children who have the confidence to do things on their own later in development. Erikson defined the virtue for stage 2 as will, or the child's ability to express his or herself by doing things on their own. The third stage conflict in Erikson's theory is initiative versus guilt, and tends to occur between 5 and 8 years of age. During this stage, children take a step from spontaneously doing things on their own to setting goals and working toward them. Little Johnny may want to learn how to ride a bike because he wants to be able to ride down a big hill in his neighborhood. Erickson argued that many children in early childhood, like Johnny, engage in risky behaviors when they set goals. When Johnny tries to ride down the hill, falls on his bike, and gets hurt, he feels guilty that he did not successfully make it down the big hill without falling. He may go home and act aggressively toward his parents because he was unable to achieve his goal. Erickson argued that children in early childhood can often engage in aggressive behaviors toward their parents and others because they are upset with not reaching their goals. He defined the important virtue of this stage as purpose, or having a goal or reason for performing certain behaviors. The fourth stage conflict in Erickson's theory is industry versus inferiority, and occurs from ages 9 to 12. During this stage, children are more receptive to feedback from adults about their competence and begin comparing their achievement and abilities to peers. For example, children learn whether they are more attractive, a better athlete, or a more superior student than the other children in the class. They may discover things that they are good at and should pursue as a hobby. Children who receive negative feedback from adults compared to other children may view themselves as less competent, which may lead them to have a negative view about their ability and not set challenging goals that require them to perform their best. However, children who receive positive feedback from adults in comparison to peers tend to have confidence they need to pursue goals that they need to be successful later in their development. The fifth stage in Erickson's theory is identity versus role confusion. And Erickson believed that it occurs from 13 to 19 years of age. However, Erickson did state that this stage is often prolonged. During this stage, adolescents are setting boundaries with parents, such as having their own private lives with friends and romantic interests. They are also searching for a place within adult society, which can include a search for an occupation, gender, political views, and religion. During this search, children may often experiment with different identities and viewpoints in order to find their true identity. The sixth stage of Erickson's theory is intimacy versus isolation and occurs from ages 20 to 39. This stage involves finding a true romantic or intimate partner in contrast to living alone, aka isolation. As such, Erickson defined the virtue for this stage as love because ultimately the stage involves finding love. The seventh stage of Erickson's theory is generativity versus stagnation and occurs during ages 40 to 59. When thinking about this stage, think of generativity as generation, because Erickson defined generativity as giving back to the future generation. This can involve starting a family, raising children, caring for aging parents, contributing to society for your careers, and being a supportive friend and family member. The virtue of this stage is care, because Erickson believed that success in middle adulthood is about providing care to the important relationships in their lives, such as parents and children. As such, he believed that not having these important people to care for or not having the means to do so can lead an individual to feel non-productive or stagnant. The eighth and final stage of Erickson's theory is ego integrity versus despair and occurs after age 60. In this stage, older adults look back on their life and reflect on whether they lived a happy and productive life. Adults who feel good about their experience in life tend to have a lot of experience to draw upon to help and support others in their life, which is why Erickson defined the virtue of this stage as wisdom. Older adults who are satisfied with their life tend to be happy, while others who felt like they didn't live the life that they wanted may feel sad and depressed. Now let's review Erickson's stages. Stage 1 is trust versus mistrust and occurs from 0 to 18 months, 0 to 2 years, and the virtue for this stage is hope. Stage 2 is autonomy versus shame and doubt and occurs often in ages 2 through 4, and the primary virtue is will. Stage 3 is initiative versus guilt and and occurs in ages 5 to 8. The primary virtue is purpose. Stage 4 is industry versus inferiority and occurs during ages 9 to 12. The virtue for this stage is competence. Stage 5 is identity versus role confusion and occurs between ages 13 and 19. The virtue for this stage is fidelity. Stage 6 is intimacy versus isolation and occurs between ages 20 and 39. The virtue for this stage is love. Stage 7 is generativity versus stagnation and occurs between ages 40 to 59. The virtue for this stage is care. The 8th and final stage is ego integrity versus despair and occurs in ages 60 and up. The virtue for this stage is wisdom. Remember that the best way to study is to take practice tests, and if you can't find good practice tests, build your own and learn while you do it using the free Learn My Test study tool. You can also look in our growing list of test banks for one in your field to study. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, check out our other videos posted on our channel. Also,
Okay na yun,
please
Eman.
hit the like.
Dito pa, close na lang. So, diretso na tayo sa groupings natin, no? Para hindi tayo ma-short sa oras. Mary, pa-present na lang ng inyong groupings. Salamat.
Sige po, sir. Good afternoon, sir. Nais ko lamang po ipakilala muna sa inyo yung member namin. Andito po si RJ Vertulfo, Christian J. Mariano, Emmanuel Maglinaw, saka Joshua Caiyes po. Ang una po mag-present ay si Joshua Caiyes po.
Stage 5. Adolescence, identity versus role confusion. Identity. To succeed in this stage, adolescents need to establish a coherent sense of self. They will need to determine their priorities in life, family, academic, success, etc. Then they will need to set goals for their adult selves based on those values. Role confusion. Some adolescents may have a weak sense of self. They may struggle to break away from the person their parents or peers accept them to be. Without a consistent identity, they may grow confused about what they truly want for the future. So, for my own opinion, sir, yung identity, ito yung pagkakilala mo sa sarili mo, tsaka kung ano yung mga, para ma-determine mo yung mga priorities mo sa buhay. Tapos yung role confusion naman, ito yung sa role confusion, ito yung mga parang namomroblema ka kung ano yung mga gagawin mo in the future. Yun lang, sir.
Stage 6, Young Adulthood, Intimacy versus Isolation. According to Erickson, young adulthood is the period during which many people get married or develop significant relationships. It has been defined as anywhere from 20 to 24 years to 20 to 40 years. Intimacy. Relationships can be key source of affection and intimacy in adulthood. Many find emotional benefits from having a committed lifelong bond. Isolation. According to Erickson, people who do not develop relationships may become socially isolated. They may develop long-term feelings of loneliness. In my own opinion of young adulthood, intimacy versus isolation, ang intimacy ito yung malapit ka sa partner mo, yung gusto mo silang makasama, open kayo sa isa't isa, vulnerable kayo, talagang gusto mo talaga makasama. Sa isolation naman, ito naman yung mga nabigo ka nakagawa ng relationships, yung nilalayo mo yung sarili mo sa ibang tao. Ito rin yung mga long term na, gaya ng sinabi ko, yung long term na loneliness na mararamdaman mo sa isolation. Yun lang po.
Middle adulthood, generativity versus stagnation.
The focus of this stage is to contribute to society in the next generation. Adults in this stage are often at the height of their careers. Many people are raising children. Generativity. People may offer guidance to the next generation through parenting or mentorship. They will also offer lead the way by leaving a legacy. Contributing to society's future can give people a sense of community and purpose. Stagnation. Some people may feel as if they have no impact on society. If people do not find their work meaningful, they may feel restless or isolated. Some may feel they have peaked and that their lives will only get worse in the future. Pag sinabi po natin generativity, ito yung mga nasa middle adult na nagko-contribute sa ating society through guidance, parenting, or mentorship. Pwede rin silang mag-lead ng ng kanilang pag-alis ng pag-iwan ng isang legacy sa isang society. Pag stagnation naman, sila naman yung mga taong parang nafe-feel nila na wala silang natutulong sa society. Tapos sometimes pag naisip nila parang walang kwenta yung ginagawa nila, parang nagkakaroon na silang walang pake, parang hindi sila belong sa isang society. Yun lang.
Stage 8, late adulthood, ego, integrity versus despair. During this dito naman sa stage na to, people reflect back on the life they have lived and come away with either a sense of fulfillment from a life well lived or a sense of regret and despair over a life misspent. Yung ego, integrity, those who feel fulfilled by their lives can face death and aging proudly. Yun dito yung mga taong satisfied na sa buhay kung anong meron sila. Sa despair naman, ito yung kabaligtaran o opposite ng ego, integrity. Ito yung mga hindi satisfied kung anong meron sila, puro disappointment, mga pinagsisisihan nila yung mga hindi nila nagawa na mga pangarap nila, mga ganun. Yun lang.
So ayun, ang masasabi ko sa report nyo, magaling. Halos lahat ng topics is na ipaliwanag naman maayos. So wala na ako idadagdag pa kasi naibigay nyo naman lahat ng meaning saka nung dapat sabihin. So after this class, may inihanda ulit ako sa inyong quiz. Nawa mas mataas na yung makuha yung score di katulad kahapon. So bago tayo mag-end. Okay. So bago tayo mag-end, pabukas ulit ng cam tapos mag-group selfie tayo. Maglinaw, gawin mo ulit yung pa-screenshot then pa-send sa.
Ano, sir?
Okay na. Okay, guys, ingat kayo. Salamat.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Sir,
sir.
bye po.
Salamat, sir.
The next day.